Hey guys, happy new year. Yeah, welcome here. If this is your first time seeing this video, my name is Justina, and to all my returning subscribers, thank you so much for sticking by me. And this is our first official video for the year 2026. Today we're going to be learning how to make this stylish gathered dress that has a built-up neckline and a side pocket with belts that give that snatch waist effect. If this is something you would like to learn how to sew, do well to stay to the end. First of all, here are the materials I'm going to be making use of. For my tutorial, I used about 2.5 yard of Ankara fabric, and for the built-up neckline and the sleeve, I'm going to be making use of this Aso-Oke that you can see display. So first of all, you're going to be folding your fabric into four, like I already folded mine into four, and you're going to be folding this based on your highest circumference in between your bust and your hip measurement and your waist. So mine is my hip measurement divided by 4, that's 9.5. And to this, I'm just going to be adding an extra 5 inches to make it 14 inches. So I folded my fabric, okay, um, horizontally using that 14 inches into 4. Now after cutting out the excess I don't need again, now I'm going to go ahead to cut out my desired length. Remember that this particular gown is gathered, so we're going to be having two parts. And in order to do this, I'm just going to go ahead to measure the upper part. And first of all, I'm going to go ahead to measure about 29 inches. Now, this 29 inches I'm measuring out here is going to be for my upper part. Although what I really need for my upper part is about 25 inches, like my shoulder to my hip length. But I'm just cutting 29 inches because I'm going to be using the remaining 4 inches as my belt. So now the first thing I'm going to do from the origin, as you can see me do, is to go ahead and indicate my waist point, my shoulder to waist, then my shoulder to hip measurement. So my shoulder to waist, as you can see, is 15.5 over here, and my shoulder to my hip point is 25 inches. I'm just going to go ahead to mark those points, as you can see me do. Then I'm going to go ahead right now to impute my neck depth on the folded end, and I'm going to be using 1 inches for my neck depth, and my neck width I'm using 3 inches. This is because I'm going to be cutting out the back first. Now after doing that, I'm going to go ahead to the edge, okay, of my folded fabric, and I'm going to go there by 1.5 inches. Now this 1.5 inches is what I'm going to be making use to draw out my slope and connect that to my neck width, as you can see me do. From the edge now, I'm going to go down by 8.5 inches. This 8.5 inches is going to be for my sleeve opening. And if you're on the bigger side, you want to go lower than that. Now, after doing that, I'm going to go ahead right now to mark out my hip measurement. That is my hip length, which is 24 inches. Then I just added 1 extra inches, okay? Now this 1 extra inches is going to be for my joining allowance. And afterward, I'm going to go ahead to cut out that other part. Now the other part is what I'll be using for my belt. All right, okay? So this is what I cut out, which I said I'm going to be using for my belt. As you can see, this is 4 inches in width, and for the length I have about 28 inches on both pieces. I have two pieces. Remember, it was folded in 4. So back to our sleeve opening, I measured 8.5 inches, as you can see. Then I'm going to go ahead to create horizontal line on that particular sleeve opening. So on this sleeve opening now, I'm going to go ahead to impute my bust round measurement divided by 4, and I'm going to be adding 1 extra inch for ease. Now you can decide to add 2 extra inches if you want more ease, but 1 is fine by me. For the waist measurement, I did my waist round divided by 4, and I also added 1 extra inch for ease. Then on the hip side, I divided my hip round measurement by 4, and on this particular part, I'm going to be adding 2 inches. You can decide to add 3 inches if you're on the bigger side. Now this is just to give the A-line effect that we can see display in the style. After doing all of this, I'm going to go ahead to connect the hip down to the waist using a slant line. Then from the waist into the sleeve opening, I'm going to be connecting this with in form of a curve. Now you can decide to just do this with your hand, or you can make use of your pattern master as you can see me do. After doing all of this, I'm just going to go ahead to add 1 inch for my joining allowance, my sewing allowance. So you can decide to do ½ inch, or you can decide to, but 1 inch is fine so that you don't have a lot of bulk on that region. So I'm just going to go ahead to connect this, giving me the same curve like I had earlier. Now, after doing all of this, I'm just going to go ahead to cut that, and I'm going to go ahead to open the sleeve, trim it to ensure it's equal. Then I'm going to go to the upper part and cut out with just my back neckline. So this is what I have. I'm going to go on the waist region. I'm going to go from that waist side. Now I'm just going to go lower by 1.5 inches, and this is just to help me indicate where my pockets will be. Remember that this particular gown has a pocket, so I'm gonna head to notch the part where I'm going to be having my pocket, and after opening this up, this is what it looks like. So right now I'm going to take the lower piece, and that is going to be my back piece, and I'm going to fold where I drafted on earlier, which is going to be my front piece. Now my front piece, starting from the neck region, I'm going to be measuring out 3 inches. Now this 3 inches is what I'm going to be taking out of this front part in order to be able to have my built up collar that I'm going to be using with my Aso-Oke. Now I'm just going to add 0.5 inches, which is going to serve as my joining allowance. So in other words, you can just decide to mark out 2.5 if you don't want to draw double lines, just like mine. So after doing that, I'm just going to go ahead to trim out this part that I don't need again, and doing that is going to make me have 2 pieces. All right, now the next thing we're going to go ahead to do now is to place the right side facing right side. After placing the back, so I went to place the front right side facing the right side on both the left and the right side, as you can see me do. Then you are going to go ahead to pin, or just take it to your sewing machine to join that part. So I'm just going to layer it like so, and I'm going to go ahead to join this later. Now, after doing this, the next thing we're going to go ahead to do right now is to cut our pockets, because we're going to be fixing the pockets and the belt even before we fix the built up neckline. So this is what I have for the belt. Remember that 4 inches has been folded into 2. So I'm going to be closing one end, and what I have here is about 28 inches. So you can decide to make yours longer, but I feel this length is just perfect for me. So now I'm going to go ahead to sew the belt inside out and turn it off camera. Now for the side pocket, I'm just going to place my hand like so. Then I'm just going to draw out the shape of a pocket. You are going to decide how big or how small you want yours to be. So after doing that, I'm just going to go ahead to cut. So I have these 2 pieces unfold, and I'm going to use this to cut another 2 pieces, because in total we are going to be needing 4 pieces to make the 2 pockets. Now after doing that, I'm going to take the pockets sideways, as you can see me do, and I'm going to go ahead to pin it on the notch I made while I was cutting out the side. So I'm going to do this for the 4 side I'm going to be fixing the pockets. So please ensure that your pocket is aligning at the same place. You can see what I'm doing. After fixing the pocket, I try to place it on the back to just ensure that both are sitting properly. This is really important so that you don't have 2 wrong sides facing each other, or you have another shape entirely because you place it wrongly. So after doing that, I'm going to go ahead now to put in the belt, insert the belt from the inside like this, and ensure it comes out at the side. And after doing that, I'm going to go ahead to pin, then I'm going to go ahead to sew all of these down on both sides. So this is really important so that your work is going to be neat and it's going to be clean. So I'm going to go ahead to fix the pocket at the other side and fix the belt and go ahead to the machine to sew this down. Okay, after doing all of this, I'm going to go ahead to start working on my built up neckline. So if you've watched up to this point and you're really gaining value from this video, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you are yet to be subscribed. Turn on a notification bell so that when I post new videos, you get to see them. And of course, please, your comments, your likes, they mean so much to me and they encourage me to keep going. I really appreciate that. So after doing that, I'm going to go from the lower end now to measure what I have on the neckline. So I started from the lower end down to the neckline, back neckline, down to the other end. And in total, I have about 58 inches, 58.5 inches. So depending on whatever you have there, you need that length, okay, in cutting your collar. So for my collar, this Aso-Oke I have here is about 6 inches. That is the width of the Aso-Oke, 6 inches, okay. And the length I have is more than 60 inches. So this is going to be more than enough for me. So what I'm going to go ahead to do is to fold it equally, as you can see me do. Fold it equally vertically, then I'm going to be folding it into two horizontally to give me a crease line. Now this crease line is very important because it's going to help you know how to sew, and it's also going to ensure neatness and clarity when sewing. So like I said, you are going to go ahead, okay, from the middle part you can just go ahead to measure the way I'm doing this. So just go ahead, measure what you have from that side because that's the way we're going to be fixing the collar. So you keep measuring down to the end. Now for the opening of the collar, you will need your head circumference. So for my head circumference, I'm going to be working with 22 inches. That's my head circumference. So that means I'm going to be measuring 11 inches, okay, from the folded end of my built up collar on this Aso-Oke. Now, if yours is 24 inches, that means you'll be marking 12 inches on those points. And after marking that point, indicating it with your chalk, you're just going to go ahead to pin every other part. Pinning every other part means the side that are pinned will be sewn downward. Okay? And after doing that, after pinning, after sewing, you're supposed to have something like this when you're done sewing on the machine. So if you have something like this, it clearly means you are right on track. So I'm going to go ahead to show you what the neckline will look like after sewing this down. You're just going to use your hand, as you can see me do, to fold this into two, even before using your iron to press this down. So this is what the neck, you can see the neck opening, right? That's why I say your head circumference rather is really important. Now, so for the sleeve, after joining the sleeve, okay, at the shoulder, this is what I have towards the sleeve opening. I'm going to be adding Aso-Oke there. I'm just going to fold my Aso-Oke into two, as you can see. Then I'm going to place it on the right side of the sleeve opening. Then I'm going to sew this down off camera. And here it is. I've gone ahead to fix my Aso-Oke on the sleeve opening, okay, and my pocket has been sewn including my belt. So I'm just going to notch the middle part of this dress, as you can see me do, and this is what I have after sewing down my Aso-Oke. So I'm just going to cover the part that has been sewn into two, and this is what I have when I'm done. So you want to make use of your iron here to press this down because Aso-Oke at times can be very difficult to work with. So I went ahead to notch the mid part of this Aso-Oke design also, okay, and I'm going to be holding the two sides together, and I'm going to be fixing this on the, I'm going to be fixing it, holding the right side of the back of the Aso-Oke design, fixing it to the right side of the Ankara at the midpoint. So I'm going to be holding this down to the end of the opened end, and after fixing, this is what it is going to look like. So after doing that, now we're going to be moving to the lower end, and you're just going to measure what you have. My case, I have 22 on both sides, that is times 2, that gives me 44. So it means if I want my gather at least not to be too full but basic, I'm going to be multiplying by 2. That means I need at least 88 inches in length for me to have a full gather. And for the length of this dress, I'm just going to be using about 15 inches. Remember, I already have 24 inches. So I'm just going to go ahead to create garter stitch. And after doing that, this is what the final look of the dress gives me. I hope you love this dress. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, and I'm going to see you